welcome back to Cincinnati Zoo Tales. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Mark. Thanks to everyone for tuning into another episode. We're here with this not so spooky season. It's Halloween's right around the corner. It's
Most
October right
time
now.
of year.
I'll say your favorite time of the year, not my favorite time of the year, but that's okay. We still find some joy in it, and we like doing these episodes. I'm just not a fall guy. It's just not for me, But I'm more of a summer person. I get sad when the weather turns cold, but I try and make the most out of it. But we enjoy doing our not so spooky season, right? We try and find these animals that might have a bad stigma and educate people on why they shouldn't be afraid of them, why these animals are actually really cool and really interesting. So we have maybe our most interesting animal in the whole zoo to talk about today. This animal is so unique. We're going to be talking about a primate species that's in jungle trails. So we're being joined by Faith Hall, who's one of our keepers in the jungle trails department. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day and coming to chat with us.
Of course, I'm so excited to be back.
Yes, we had an episode with you about bonobos in the past, so if you guys didn't hear that one, you can go back and listen to it. But eyes, they are really unique, super cool. I don't think many people even know what they are. I definitely didn't until I started working here. So I can't wait to hear about eyes. Tell us a little bit about your, just a quick synopsis of your time here at the Cincinnati Zoo and what you're doing now with the eyes.
Sure. So the last time I was here, I was actually a temp keeper. So it's been a couple years now. I'm now a senior keeper. So I spent a lot of time with the and other animals in jungle trails. But I've been all around the zoo. So I had a short stint over in Cat Show. And then really I've been around the zoo since I was 13. So I've done a wide variety of things.
Congrats on the full time, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. A long time coming, but I'm excited to be here. The eye are super, super cool, and most people don't know about them because, fun fact, there are only about 50 in human care worldwide.
Wow, that is
That's
so
it.
few.
Yeah. So in the United States, I think the number is about 23, and they're all owned by the Lemur Center. So many people don't know about them because only 6 AZA zoos actually have eye, and I'm not sure that it's public knowledge, but one is actually getting out of eye care. So really, there's only going to be 5 AZA accredited facilities outside of the Lemur Center that have them.
Wow. So I want to ask a question about that, but I also want you to describe eyes and kind of give a little bit of a description of what they look like and like what they eat. But are they difficult to manage in human care? Is that why so few institutions have them?
Yes.
Okay.
So are probably the most unique lemur. If you imagine a lemur, you were typically thinking of like Zaboomafoo, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like we're all from the wild krat generation. Throw that image outside the door. They look completely different. They're 4-legged. They're the largest nocturnal primate species, fun fact. And they've got really large ears. They kind of look almost like a werewolf. They've got this black-gray coloration with some scraggly-looking hair, big eyes, and these really creepy fingers. So a lot of people are kind of afraid of them just by the look, and that's actually one of the reasons why they're considered a spooky animal. The Malagasy people, which Malagasy is the name for people from Madagascar, used to think that they were actually taboo or dangerous. They had this folklore that if they pointed their middle finger at you, which is their really long skeletal looking finger, they would put a curse on you. So unfortunately that is one of the issues that we've had in conservation, is kind of changing that narrative a little bit, because they would unfortunately go and kill the eye so that they didn't bring bad luck to the community.
It is wild that, the more you know, right? But they do look a little creepy, and that's why they're part of this episode. Like, we're going to teach everyone why they're not creepy. They're super cool. And they do have that finger that is used for a special reason we'll have you get into in a little bit. The giant ears, the big fluffy tail, and they're nocturnal, and I'm sure, like, with their giant eyes, if they were just, like, hopping around the trees at night, it would be a little spooky. Like, to see this wild-looking creature. And they don't remind you, like you mentioned, of, like, a ring-tailed lemur, like the cute little animals you see on all the shows and everything. But are people these days learning more about them? Are their numbers okay in the wild right now, or how's that going?
They're still technically considered endangered. We actually just partnered here at the Cincinnati Zoo with a really amazing organization called Madagascar Vocat, or MV, and they do a lot of really good holistic conservation approaches over in Madagascar. So while a lot of their stuff focuses on less charismatic fauna, like they've got baobabs for the plant side, but bats, chameleons, and frogs are kind of like their main bread and butter focus right now. Their protected areas include eye habitat, so they're doing a lot of community engagement for all of them, including eye. So there are a lot of positives happening, but just with being so few numbers and being on an island nation, it's really hard. And right now there's really hard economic factors So it's really a big multifaceted issue, not just the cultural spooky
Okay.
side of things. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
deforestation is pretty big throughout Madagascar,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. Which obviously is not only affecting Aya, but all other lemur species,
Correct.
chameleons, everything else that lives there. It is funny, Jenny, you mentioned that. I do wonder, like, if you're walking through a forest at night and you just see those giant bright eyes look at you, I would probably be pretty creeped out
Yeah.
the first
Yes.
time you see it if you weren't ready
Yep.
for it.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. They are like, yeah, we have to have, well, there will be a photo, like a tiny photo with this episode, but definitely encourage everyone to look them up. You described them a little bit. You mentioned they are difficult to care for in zoos. Can you tell us why and a little bit more about their natural history?
Yeah. So we know that they're primates now, but they actually have really unique dentition that are rodent-like, and they are constantly growing their entire lives, which is really weird for primates.
Yeah.
So they are initially actually classified as rodents, and so they've got these really long incisors that are just, I mean, they look like rat teeth, and so they chew through everything. So here in human care, we have to be really specific about what we're giving them. So in terms of their habitat, they will destroy pretty much anything and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Certain epoxies and certain things. So for their habitat and their enrichment, we're really restrictive with what we can give them because they do destroy and they can ingest things. So we only give them like stainless steel, untreated wood, paper products, things like that, which can be a little bit limiting because if you think
sure.
about all these fun animal toys, 90% of the time they're a hard plastic, which we
Yeah.
can't give them. It also makes training a little difficult because if you think about crate training an animal, what are most crates made out of? Plastic.
Yes.
And if you get to a stainless steel crate, they're typically not meant for transportation. They're like military working dogs, like they're in a truck, they're stationary, like you're having them go there for, crating purposes, not transportation purposes. So it gets really hard to train with these animals for like medical care when you need to crate them and you have nothing to really do. So
Yeah.
it's really hard for that. But because they're also nocturnal, we're not. So they're on a reverse light cycle, which we actually, fun fact as well, participated in a groundbreaking research about a decade ago, back in 2016,
Oh, I don't remember
about
this.
red light versus blue light reverse light cycles. I don't know if you guys were around, but I remember like our nocturnal house used to have blue lights all throughout the area because
Yeah.
it mimics moonlight. You're not, associating darkness with a red light. But artificial blue light is actually really, really bad for sleep cycles. Yeah. So we actually were able to get voluntary saliva samples from our eye and test for melatonin levels to see what that looks like, because melatonin is what regulates the sleep cycle. And they were able to find that the short wavelengths of blue light is actually really, really disruptive when it's artificial blue light versus red light, which has a larger wavelength and is a little bit healthier. So that's why all of our nocturnal areas are now red light.
I'm so glad that was figured out
Yeah.
because that would be really tricky if you're not getting any
Yeah.
sleep or you're struggling to get sleep because of that light.
And it's such an easy change to make too, right? Like you just change the color of the light bulbs. It's a piece of cake. Like
Yeah. If you think about it, I mean, it's the same idea if you have those red light therapy masks. Red light's great for you, but
Yeah.
blue light is just, you have your phone, you can switch it on to night shift mode where it filters that blue light. We've got blue light filtered glasses. So it's one of those really amazing things that we did for animal welfare here at the Cincinnati Zoo.
Awesome. So we have two eyes here?
We do,
Okay,
yeah. So
can
we've
you
got a
tell us
male and a
about them?
female. They're actually getting a little old. So Medea was born in 2004, so she's 21, and then Niffy was born in 2008. These guys in human care only live to be about 23, 24 years old.
Oh,
so
wow.
they're getting up there.
Yeah.
They're still technically considered a breeding pair, and we've seen some breeding activity, but no babies thus far. And with non-human primates, we don't typically see menopausal cycles. So in theory, she could have another baby, but it's really unlikely at this point in her life. They have a baby once every 2 to 3 years in the wild. So
That doesn't help their numbers either, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Gosh. Okay, so you mentioned that they can chew through anything. They have these rat-like teeth. But tell everyone what they're eating and what they use their kind of creepy fingers for.
So I mentioned they have these really specialized middle fingers, and they are very skeletal. Just imagine like a zombie finger. That's exactly what it looks like. It's really, really thin, really, really long. And they're called percussion foragers because they tap their middle finger on trees and bark to echolocate grubs and other bugs inside trees. So they're actually omnivores. They'll eat a bunch of different things. So here at the zoo, we'll actually give them oranges, and they'll use their rodent-like teeth to bore little holes, and then they'll use their middle finger to completely hollow out the orange without actually opening
No
it
way.
up. Yeah.
So the peel just stays in place. They
Yes.
just eat everything.
It's just
inside.
hollow on the inside. It's so cool.
Gosh, can you get a video of that?
I'll
for
try.
social
I'll
media?
try
We
for
need to
sure.
see this. That would be amazing. So they're getting a little older. They're difficult to train, but I'm guessing you are doing some training. Can you tell us about that and what, like,
Yeah.
what they prefer as their rewards and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I use peanuts. It's one of their favorite rewards or
Okay.
reinforcers. I'm working on a couple different things. So I mentioned earlier that the Duke Lemur Center owns all of the II, and they actually own a lot of lemurs that are in AZA institutions, including our cockerel sabaca. They are very specific with their food and their training and husbandry, so we follow their guidelines.
Okay.
Down at the Duke Lemur Center, one of the things that they do are what are called hand grabs. So if they need to get an animal for a physical, they physically will go in and swoop them up, and they're used to that. Our old curator actually phased that out, so we're working on getting them re-desensitized to human touch.
Okay.
Because they're a little sketched out by it, like I would be too if I'm, not used to it and a hand is coming towards me in the dark to come grab me. So we're working on that. They're really good with target training. We're doing voluntary weight training with them, and we actually started painting with them as well. So,
Oh, that's exciting.
yeah, training has not necessarily been easy because, again, they will chew everything, and it's hard to, do things like crate training, but we're working on it, and we're really excited to see where their training goes.
That sounds super fun. Now, are you doing these training sessions in their habitat? Like, could visitors ever watch this? Is it like something
Yes
you do
and no.
during the zoo hours?
We have a door that goes into their habitat, and it creates almost like a little chute system. So if you're very lucky, if you're looking at the habitat and you look to the right, you may be able to see us if we have the door open. We typically have a red light flashlight that makes it a little bit brighter so you can see. But we're not necessarily inside
Okay.
the habitat unless we're doing like target training. Then we need some more space for that.
But you are able to share space with them? Like,
Yes.
they're not, like, aggressive towards you?
Yeah,
or
so
anything?
for most of our primates, we are protected contact
Yeah.
because it's dangerous. But
yeah.
with a lot of our prosimians, which is what II are, I should have started with that. The primate world, there's prosimians, apes, and monkeys. These guys are prosimians, which are technically pre-monkeys. We can share space with them. So a lot of our nocturnal guys, our lemurs, they're completely safe.
Awesome.
And when you do your training sessions with the II, it's still completely dark in there, right? Like,
Yes.
I assume they're not going to
Extra
train if
training
you turn the
challenge.
lights on. They're
Correct,
not going to
yeah.
train for you. They're probably going to go and hide. So.
Yep, so it's all red light. We just bring in some supplemental red light to help brighten it for us.
I'll say it's got to be tricky for you guys as trainers.
It can be for sure. If we were to turn on the lights though, they would get super spooked, and then you start hearing them make their really unique vocalizations, which is kind of an eeping noise, which is their way of saying, I'm a little weirded out. This is weird. I'm getting spooky. So we try to avoid that as best as we can.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just imagine it's tough for you guys. Training's hard enough with the lights on.
Yeah,
yeah,
Lights off.
absolutely.
Props to you guys for dealing with that. That's brutal.
Can you tell if they, like, trust you? Like, have you built a relationship with them personally, or are they good with almost any of the keepers?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, they're okay with any keeper. I will say that since I'm a primary trainer with these guys, I spend a little bit more time. So when it comes to doing things like weight, training, things like that with the scale, I have a little bit more success. But it really depends on the individual, and each one has a different personality. So Medea is our female. She's the oldest one. She's really kind of a skitsy animal, so she likes to spend a lot of time up top in the habitat.
Okay.
So when you're visiting, if you see one II up top and one down below, Medea is typically the one that's hanging out up there. Niffy is so food motivated. He loves to train. He loves keeper interaction. So when I open the door, he's the first one to come over because he wants his peanuts. And he's typically the one that's lower on the ground as well.
Okay.
If you were to get a really good look at them, you could also tell that he actually had an injury on his really delicate percussion finger
Oh, no.
on his left hand. And so his finger is actually about half the length as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What's the social dynamic like between Niffy and Medea? Do they get along pretty well? Is one dominant over the other? Like,
I would say that Medea is a little bit more dominant,
Okay.
Which is pretty true for a lot of lemur species. The females typically tend to be a little bit more, higher. But really, they get along really, really well. So I haven't had any issues with them fighting or anything like that. They just cohabitate and they hang out. They smell each other. They used to spend a lot of time. We used to have a a potto in that habitat. So they would spend a lot of time just kind of investigating an eco as well before we moved to another zoo.
What is their, like, family life like in the wild?
They're typically solitary, actually.
Okay.
So we've got a breeding pair, but they would typically only come together for breeding. Then they'd go off and kind of do their own thing. So they're not social animals like bonobos or other great apes. They're just kind of weird little solitary animals that come around to make babies and then go on their merry way.
So you mentioned that they're omnivores, they'll eat oranges, peanuts. What are other parts of their main diet here at the zoo?
Yeah, we give them a lot of whole produce. So with these guys, we don't have to chop them up very small because frankly, they love to hollow things out. So we give them a lot of nuts, veggies, and then they get some soft-boiled eggs. They really love the soft-boiled eggs with the gooey center. So they'll also bore little holes into that and then dig into that really well. But we'll do that, and then we have some fortified biscuits that we create like a little gruel with, which their fortified biscuits are just vitamins and minerals basically added to like a Raisin Bran type of leaf eater biscuit.
Do they get insects? Because in my mind, I'm picturing them eating the majority of their diet being insects in the wild. Is that false?
It's opportunistic, so
Okay.
we do give them insects as well. So they'll get mainly mealworms, but they also get some waxworms and occasionally crickets. But crickets are not a hit.
Really?
They're a lot harder to grab, so it's a lot of fun enrichment for them. But
Yeah.
they typically like their mealworms.
Okay, cool.
I would have thought the same thing. That's interesting. You say how difficult it is to present them with like enrichment items because of obviously they're going to chew through everything.
Yeah.
Do they have enrichment items they can have, or do they have any favorites?
Yeah, they do. For a lot of their enrichment, we also, because of, again, they're really delicate fingers, we can't hang them. So we like to put things on the ground or things that they can potentially just carry up by themselves. So we've got a lot of different metal dishes or like muffin tins and things like that that you typically wouldn't expect to give an animal and find, as an enriching opportunity. But we'll put different substrates, so wood shavings or cardboard chips in these muffin tins and sprinkle their worms in there so they have to kind of forage around for them. We actually worked with our maintenance team, who's amazing, and they welded some really cool stainless steel puzzle box feeders for them. And we had an intern in the past create these really unique wooden boxes that were puzzle feeders that they had to figure out how to open them with their hands, and then they were able to get food on the inside. And they figured it out really fast. It was
Really?
so cool to see. Yeah. Lemurs aren't known for being super smart. In theory, like every primate is pretty intelligent, but lemurs, compared to like great apes, not necessarily the brightest, so it was really fun to see them get it so fast.
That's got to be interesting for you guys because you're also working with bonobos on the opposite
Yeah.
side of the spectrum who are like just as smart as I am. So.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you ever see them doing their percussion, what is it called? Well,
Percussion foraging.
tapping with their fingers.
They do it for everything. So anything that's weird, they're investigating by tapping it to see what it is. So if we
fun.
offer them new novel things or weird foods, like they're tapping it chronically. Because they're nocturnal, their eyesight isn't great, so they use their echolocation to really pretty much see their world. So everything and anything they're tapping constantly.
That's so cool.
That is interesting. And you mentioned their ears. They're almost like bat-like. They're
They're
gigantic.
huge. Yeah, massive. That's another way you can actually tell them apart too. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I feel like Niffy looks a little bit more like Dobby the elf. His ears are just kind of a little bit droopier and off to the side. Medea's are up a little bit more and a little perky, but they're huge and perfect for echolocating.
I'm going to have to look at that next time I
Me
go and
too.
see them. Niffy, so the males are a little bit lower, a little bit droopier.
Just for him,
Medea,
yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Medea's
So if you
are a
guys
little
want to come on by, I'll show you them to see.
Very cool. Are there any interesting facts that we haven't mentioned about eyes in general that you want to share with?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. Come back to that. I've got to wrap my brain.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the Duke Lemur Center and what their goals are or what they do in general for lemurs?
Yeah, so the Duke Lemur Center is based out of Duke University down in North Carolina, and lemurs are their bread and butter. So they're focused on lemur conservation. That's it. So for the most part, they're actually closed to the public, and they have these opportunities to do tours based off of like a scheduling cycle, but it's not open for you to just go like a zoo would. So really, they're just focused on lemur conservation, breeding lemurs, getting the word out there, and then getting these numbers in the wild boosted back up. So they're the forerunner, or what's the word?
Front runner.
Front runner,
yeah.
for lemur conservation. So really, we default to them for their standards for everything.
Do you know how many eyes they have in their care?
I believe they said they had about 9,
Okay.
and I think 14 were outside of the Duke Lemur Center at other zoos.
Man, I hope we can get some
Well,
babies.
I say
know.
were both of ours from Duke Lemur Center
Yes,
though?
yeah. So they only had a couple founders. So if you go to, I believe it's the 2017 Duke Lemur Center newsletter, they actually have a really cool graphic of like the family tree of all of the ii in the United States, and it shows exactly who came from which founding members of that population.
Okay.
But yes, they all came from Duke.
That's really tough when you have such low numbers and they aren't reproducing very often.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you also have to make sure there's, genetic diversity
Right.
and everything. Like, that's a tricky situation. And I feel like because not a ton of people know about them, there aren't going to be as many organizations or things
Right.
working to protect them. But I'm glad there are, at least we know of two that the zoo
Yes.
is working with very
Yes.
closely.
And they're such a sensitive species. It's difficult for them to breed, right?
It is really
Yeah.
difficult, yeah. So as you can imagine, when there's deforestation, you've got these segments of forest that are not, communicating with each other anymore. They're segmented. It creates a lot of challenges. Then you've got a lot of things like habitat encroachment. So people are disrupting these natural life cycles of primates that are nocturnal because they are introducing light and introducing things like noise pollution. And as you can imagine, with an animal that is echolocating and using their auditory cues for everything, like that can be a big challenge.
Yeah.
Our new partners, Madagascar and Bocat, actually have been able to see eye in their Magabee protected area in camera traps. So that's an amazing thing. And there are some really healthy populations in the, I believe, 16 protected areas in Madagascar that have eye populations. So we're seeing some really positive changes in these protected areas, but we're trying to increase our role here in the zoo to help our reach and impact for eye conservation.
Yeah, definitely. So sadly, Medea is very old for an eye.
Yes.
Do you think that the zoo will have another female come if she passes?
We're having those conversations.
Okay.
Frankly, I'm not sure. Like I mentioned, there's one facility that's getting out of eye management. So in theory, there could be potential opportunities to bring in a new pair of eye. But we really have no idea. It really is up to the Lemur Center, and we'll see what they think. So that's a conversation we're having, but we're hopeful that she'll have a couple more years with us at least.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
not faced with that decision quite yet.
Yeah.
I do have the toughest question of the interview lined up if you're ready for it.
I'm ready.
Who's your favorite between Medea and Niffy?
Niffy. I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but Niffy. It's just because he's such a rock star with training. He is so into food that he'll come and he'll do anything I want him to. So
Super
I have
fun
a
to
really
work
good
with.
relationship with him. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's always special. When we get a food motivated animal, that's when
Yes.
we do training sessions. It's special.
He's cool.
So eyes may look a little creepy, but they are definitely not spooky. They're not causing any harm to the people around them or their environments, correct?
Correct, yes.
There's nothing you need to be afraid of from
Correct.
eyes. We definitely suggest looking up videos or pictures of them because they're super cool. And have you guys ever done any sort of like chats with them, or is there a time the public should come see them at the zoo where they might learn more?
Yeah, so because they're on a reverse light cycle, their lights turn off at 9 and then they turn on way after the zoo's closed. So we typically get them on habitat by about 9:30. So if you want to see them, that's typically when they're most active, between like 9:30 and 11, because they're getting out, they're seeing their food and enrichment for the day. And then they kind of settle down in the afternoons. So anywhere between like 9:30 and probably 11 is when I would recommend coming to see them, but you can see them pretty much all day. We don't have any chats as of right now. It's dark in there. It's really hard to see. But we do have a really cool mini amphitheater. I don't know if that's the appropriate word for it, but there's a movie that's constantly showing with a video about eye narrated by Thane. So come check it out and learn a little bit about eye from Thane, but come whenever you want. They're here at Jungle Trails.
I love that. Yeah, they're like right after the bonobo indoor habitat. They might get missed sometimes because people might look and it's very dark, and if they're not moving, you may
Yes,
not know
it's hard.
like how to find them. What is their sleep situation like? Do they like to like cozy up in the crooks of trees? Do they sleep on the ground? Like how? And
They create
do
little
they
nests.
sleep much? Okay.
Yeah, so we've got nest boxes in their holding space.
Okay.
So it's literally all metal, as you can imagine, but they're metal boxes, and then we have bamboo and wood wool and all these other bedding materials that we offer them, and then they make their own nests.
Okay.
So they typically will cohabitate, so they're in the same nest, all curled up together, which is really cute. But every now and then Medea does kick Niffy out to one of the other nest boxes, but they really like bamboo as their number one bedding source.
Interesting. Okay. Is it the sticks too, or like the stem, or just the leaves of
It's
bamboo?
the leaves, but then like the small little itty bitty stems that
Okay.
are kind of shooting off, not the thick, big stalks.
Okay, I was gonna say that doesn't sound very
Yeah.
comfy, but
They love to chew on it, but
I'll say, do they
but-
chew through it?
yeah. Yep.
and is it something where they have to chew to wear down their teeth too? Are
Oh,
they ever growing just like
constantly,
rodents?
yep.
Okay.
So we also give them what we call eye chew toys, which are literally just metal nuts and bolts, and
That is
it's
wild.
just for them to wear down their teeth because they're constantly growing. It can actually cause a lot of health issues if they
Yeah.
don't wear it down. So it's chronic. It's constantly being chewed.
This is like a super scientific question. I don't expect you to know the answer, but like they were thought to be rodents.
Mm-hmm.
What and they have teeth like rodents. That is kind of wild. How did they become classified as primates? Do you?
I would guess when they finally were able to sequence their genome. I'm not quite
Okay,
sure,
yeah,
but
I mean, I guess it all goes back to genetics, right?
Yeah.
That's the answer. But it's just wild to me that
yeah.
I don't know.
Especially because no other lemurs are like that, right?
No.
Ringtail, it's fox, like
No,
nothing
it's
else.
really weird for any primate, frankly, to have teeth that are just constantly growing. If you think about like us, like we get our adult teeth and that's it.
Yeah.
Once they're done, they're done. These guys have really unique dentition.
unique in every aspect, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can confirm for us right here and now. You can break the stigma. If they point their middle finger at you, you're not cursed.
I'm still alive.
No curses
They may
yet.
be saying some other things, but I'm still alive.
Yeah, they might look a little bit creepy, but they in fact are not they are harmless. They're not going to hurt anything. I think they're kind of cute if you really look at them.
I think so too.
Cute. They're like the chihuahuas of the primate world. They're that
see
ugly
that.
cute.
Yeah,
right?
there you
They've
go.
got that really big ear, big bulging eyes.
I can see that, and especially if you can appreciate how unique they are. Like you said, their teeth, their eyes, their ears, their fingers, like
I mean,
everything
they're
about them
primates
is.
that use echolocation. That's
That's
incredible.
nuts.
I've never
Yeah.
really thought of them using echolocation, but I knew about the percussion foraging, which I think is very unique and cool.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Are they comparable to woodpeckers, or do woodpeckers just make noise because they're tapping to get through to food? Do you know that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, the eyes are using that tapping to find food. Correct?
Correct.
Are
what
woodpeckers
you
doing
mean.
the same
Yeah.
thing, or are they are just trying to get to the food?
I think they're just trying to get to the
think
food.
so,
Like,
too.
I don't think that the woodpeckers are necessarily hearing it, like,
Yeah.
resonate the way that the eye are. At least the way I
That's my
understand
interpretation
it.
as well. I'm not a
Yeah.
bird person. We'll defer to Team Bird for that,
We'll
but
have to look it up later. Great. Well, we'll do trivia. And
Yeah.
if you think of any other facts you want to share with us, we can.
Just
Sure.
let us know. But I do have
Absolutely.
trivia if you're up for it.
I'm ready.
Obviously, we've got eye trivia lined up here today.
Oh,
They're such unique animals. I'm interested to see what you've come up with.
So first question we've got is that we got 4 questions today. First question is actually just larger base lemur related because they are
Sure.
in the lemur grouping. How many lemur species are there?
over 1,000.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Over 1,000, and they're only found on the island of Madagascar, which is an island nation off the east coast of Africa. So they're endemic, they're only found there, and it's really unique, really cool.
You're spot on, yeah. And all the research I've seen from Duke Lemur Center has been really interesting as I was doing research because it says, like, as they sequence more and more of the genomes, there's more and more species that they're finding. Like, some that they thought were subspecies, they're actually splitting into their own
Yep.
species. So it seems like it's growing by the day almost.
Yeah, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Are the largest nocturnal primates, but they've got dwarf little mouse lemurs that are itty bitty, and you wouldn't even think that they're a lemur. So
Yeah.
they come in all different shapes and sizes. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I
some
would
of
have
the...
not I would have guessed like maybe 50. Over 1,000 species of
Yeah,
lemurs.
and some of the dwarf ones are so cute. They look
Yeah.
like little chipmunks almost.
Yeah,
Like-
they do.
They're
Cool.
precious. All right, 1 for 1 here. Second question, I'm going to let Jenna answer because you answered it as we were talking, Faith. What order were II mistakenly classified as?
Rodent.
Rodent, yeah, you got it. Order is rodents. Because of their teeth, they were like, these things have the weirdest incisors we've ever seen. They've got to be a rodent species,
Yeah.
but I guess they're not. We can
Yeah,
confirm
That's
they're not.
wild.
All right, next question up. In what year were II mistakenly classified as extinct?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. That's a great question.
I'm gonna guess 1976.
76?
I'm gonna go in the 50s.
50s. You guys are a little bit late, actually. It was earlier than that, in 1933.
Wow.
II were mistakenly classified as extinct until about 20 years later. They found a population in this really, like, far-off forest that had not been, bothered yet in Madagascar, and it turns out there was actually a really healthy population in this
Amazing.
larger forest. So thankfully, they were not extinct, but they were classified at one point as extinct in 1933. And you mentioned they are considered endangered at the moment, correct?
They are.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but hopefully we've got some great conservation partners hopefully working to
Yes.
save them at the moment. But
Did you mention, or do you know the numbers in the wild that are left?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
yeah, I'm sure. Unfortunately, it's probably declining by the day, but hopefully we can get a conservation win, and not just for II, but for all lemur species in Madagascar. Last question I have for you. Obviously, you mentioned all these lemurs are found in Madagascar. what is the name if you've seen the movie Madagascar, what is the name of the aye assistant to King Julian?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in years.
So King Julian is the ring-tailed lemur who runs everything on Madagascar. His assistant is an aye.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's Maurice.
Maurice.
Yeah, he was a
Aw.
hilarious character in the movie. Yeah, if you go back and watch it. I just watched it recently with one of my nephews.
I don't think I realized he was an
Yeah,
AI.
episode.
Oh, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen that whole movie. I think I've seen bits and pieces.
Oh, you've never seen the whole
No,
movie?
I
of
should watch
Madagascar?
it, yeah.
It's gold. You gotta rewatch it. Yeah, you gotta rewatch it. But that's all I get. Thanks for participating in trivia
Yes.
today.
Yeah, I love trivia. Of course.
Before we get to our very final question, is there anything we missed you want to cover? Talk about our eyes in the wild?
If you have any other questions, that's all I got.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Our final question is, what can I do? How can I help lemurs? How can I help eyes? Or how can I be a better person?
Yeah, absolutely. For primates in general, but especially lemurs, if you can imagine, lemurs are really cute. People really want them as pets. So unfortunately, the illegal pet trade is a huge issue. Even locally and within the tri-state area, there are people who have private ownership of lemurs that take them out for photo ops in areas like the banks. And so it's really important to not support organizations or facilities or individuals that perpetuate this idea that they'd be really great pets. Eye are an example of really destructive animals. They would not be really good pets. Others are really social or they're scent markers. So they're really complicated to take care of, so it's really important to not support organizations like that. So even some facilities that account for a lot of conservation can be really toxic. So it's just really important to monitor what you're engaging with on social media or in real life, and make sure that they're an accredited facility like the AZA accreditation that we have. Another way to do that is actually by supporting conservation organizations that we support. Madagascar Avocat is amazing. So every time you come to the zoo, you're actually putting your money where we're putting our money, which is in conservation. But you're also more than welcome to donate money to them themselves. They're a community-driven organization. So instead of outside forces like our zoo going in and doing conservation work with the community, this is community-driven conservation work, which is really important and a value that we really like to support here at the zoo, because you have to have community involvement at the very base level to make sure that it's long-term, sustainable, and ethical. So by supporting an organization that's Malagasy run, you're actually doing a really good job of making sure that they're doing holistic, really long-term conservation work.
Yeah, that's really important. I'm glad you mentioned that. And if it's community driven, it's usually helping the humans that are living there as well.
Absolutely.
Or they at least, are getting involved and they actually care. So it's more long term, going to make a difference. Do they have like any social media that people could follow?
Yeah, we can definitely link it.
Okay.
Madagascar Avocat has a really crazy spelling, so
I don't even know how you're saying it. I
Yeah.
keep listening. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think I can repeat that.
So we'll definitely link it, so you can check it out. But they're an amazing organization, and their leader Julie actually won the 2021 Tusk Award, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's the #1 African Conservation Award. So it really
huge,
highlights
yeah.
that their work is doing amazing things.
Yes, definitely.
They even were able to downgrade an IUCN classification for a frog species that they've been working on. So it's amazing work that they're doing, and they're doing a lot of work that also impacts lemurs. So make sure to check them out, make sure to support them.
That's awesome. And correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of led the charge to get our zoo involved in MV, right?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
part of that process. So we've got a huge conservation team called the Conservation Impact Team, and I graduated with my master's in biology a couple years ago, and I was looking at ways that I could kind of expand my reach in conservation outside of being a keeper. And Lily was an instructor that I had worked with, and she taught one of my courses. And so they actually reached out to see if I wanted to be a conservation institutional representative or an IR. And normally we already have an organization kind of picked out when we're giving these roles. But because we hadn't had one picked out, I got to be involved in the process from the get-go, which was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Really cool opportunity. We got to do a lot of research on organizations. We met with a few virtually. We had a lot of internal meetings just to figure out who would be the best fit for our ethics and our values. And we ended up choosing MV. So it's a really cool opportunity for myself, but I'm here to push their narrative out there and make sure that they get the support that they deserve.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
amazing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool. I know we have keepers in all different areas around the zoo that get to be institutional reps for different things, but I didn't know you got to like start it and pick it and kind of make this happen at the
Yeah,
zoo.
it was
So
a whole
that's
team
actually
effort.
cool.
So I can't take credit for it.
Yeah, but it's cool that you
it
have
was
to
really
be part
cool.
of it from the beginning
Yeah.
and all of that. So
Absolutely, yeah. Kudos to the Conservation Impact team, your involvement. Kudos to your whole Jungle Trails keeper staff as
They're
well. I
amazing.
know you guys put in so much work with our
Yes.
bonobos, our lemurs, our ii all over the place. You guys are always busy. There's so much to do down there.
I have an amazing team, so very grateful for them.
that's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us on our first Not So Spooky episode for October, the best month of the year.
Yeah, definitely the best month of the year. Definitely my favorite month, for sure.
Of course, well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Have a good one, everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thanks for
listening.
tuning in. Take care.